This is Robert Clinkybeard and David Anderson with the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing business content from accomplished leaders to bring you value, scale your business, and better yourself personally. We hope you really enjoy the show, and I encourage you to share with your network so they can subscribe and we can expand these messages globally. We are also super excited to be supported by two brilliant sponsors. If you're tired of measuring properties, Site Recon platform fully automates measurements so you can focus on sales. So think measurements, think Site Recon. The other sponsor is Company Cam, who make it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field, no matter where you are. Company Cam brings documentation, communication, and liability protection together in one simple, easy to use app for you and your entire team. Company Cam is the only app every landscaper needs. Check it out. Hi, this is Robert Clinkybeard with the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. I'm super excited today to be joined by Adam Hommey. Adam is a speaker, author, trainer, and consultant with nearly 20 years experience helping business creators like you win at the game of business and marketing so you can thrive from your intersection of your brilliance and your passion will make a difference for your community, market, and audience. Adam, really glad to have you today.
Thank you so much, Robert. I am delighted. This is going to be so much fun, and I'm looking forward to doing something that will give your community, market, and audience that slight edge to enable them to do just a bit more toward achieving their intersection of their brilliance and their passion.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, Adam, give me a little bit more about your background. Maybe just spend a minute or two, just your experience, your background, just to give the audience a real true sense of who you are.
Okay, so I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years now, and since I know we are looking to keep this fairly concise, I'm going to tell you, I think, what is one of the most interesting pieces of my background, at least from when I tell the story. There was a 3-year period that began right around 2014, where I wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, so to speak. I had a business, I had clients, but I didn't know what I really wanted to develop. I didn't know what kind of business I really wanted to be in as far as how I marketed it to grow and expand. So for a couple of years, I did nothing but host my own podcast, and that was basically the core of my marketing. Ultimately, I discovered a love of podcasting. So what I do in one of my primary businesses now is I help entrepreneurs launch and host their podcasts. For your audience, what I know we're going to share a bit of today is my other passion, the other intersection of my brilliance and my passion, which is working with business owners, with entrepreneurs, to help them break out of that plateau. And what I mean by that is you find yourself, no matter what seems to happen, if you have a really good year in business, if you launch something, if you enter a new venture, you get media attention, you get a lot of new clients or customers, it seems like whenever all that passes through and the dust settles and the flash jumps out of the pan, you're in the exact same spot as you were before. It's the same level of profitability or lack thereof, the same revenue numbers, and you're still asking the same questions about how to solve the same problems as you were 5 years ago. It's like being stuck in that movie, Groundhog Day, except in hell. So thus, the title of my book, Groundhog Day, is an event, not a business strategy, where we look to share what we call the spring formula that helps entrepreneurs and helps business owners, including commercial landscapers, to break out of that cycle and discover a new level of success, enjoyment, and profitability.
No, that's great. That's great, good background. Yeah, I'd love to. I haven't actually had the chance to read your book yet, but I think I'll need to do that here pretty quickly. So I'm going to jump straight into the questions, Adam.
Please do.
Why do you think a lot of clients or entrepreneurs really struggle trying to attract? Because they're always trying to look at that shiny object, but they're always trying to attract those new prospects or new clients. Why do they struggle with that?
Well, I think it has to do with that phrase, traffic to your website. When we talk about growing our businesses, we hear that so much. So I get up on stages, whether they're physical stages in person or they're podcasts like yours, and I'll say, if you have this one thing in your business, not only do you not need it, you shouldn't want it, so just get rid of it. So if you're getting traffic to your website, stop it. People look at me like I have 3 heads. I say, whoa, let's think about this. Traffic to your website. Traffic is why I work from a home office. Website, what is a website? Is that a podcast site, a webinar site, a sales letter? Is it your terms and conditions page, your home page, your about page, your products page, your services page? All of those things can be a website, and all those things can be contained within a website. So we encourage people to focus on attracting visitors to their web pages who are pre-qualified, prepped, and pumped. Now, how this pertains to the question you just asked me, Robert, is we spend so much time as entrepreneurs looking to widen the net, to constantly bring new people in. But we don't even think at the level of strategically who we want to reach, who we want to attract, how we want to attract them, and what we want to show them. And then we wonder why it feels like we're throwing pasta at the wall and only one or two of the noodles sticks for a brief moment. The other half of the equation, gaining more return on investment and increasing the lifetime value of your existing customers, is something that does not enter into the conversation often enough to even really begin at this point. But if you have that situation where it seems like your lifetime value of a customer is 3 months or one season, like say, for example, for a commercial landscaper, it seems like every season they have to refill their customer base rather than already pretty much have a full set of returning customers, then something is missing there. And if their new prospecting and new targeting is not bringing in a lot of highly qualified leads, people who are prepared to pay their rates, who have the types of commercial landscaping jobs that folks are looking for, then yeah, you're going to struggle.
No, for sure. And, it's interesting when I go in to talk to new clients myself, and one of the first sets of questions I asked them was around, who's your ideal client? What do they look like? What's your most profitable service that you're offering? I just get that blank look in the face. So, you're right. You throw that past at the wall, or, you're trying to get, fill that funnel full, but a lot of the time you're just spinning your wheels because a lot of those prospects are not necessarily the right people. So, very interesting.
Yeah. So just to finish what I was saying there is we hear traffic to your website. And the reason why I urge you to take that and just throw it away is because it leads to a focus that involves metrics without context. So how do we measure traffic to our website? Well, the more we get and the longer they stay. But who are these people? Where are they coming from? What are they looking for? What are you showing them? All too often that completely gets missed by agencies that will go to their clients and say, look, we got you 700 pieces of traffic to your website. Okay, that's great. I still don't have any sales. Now what?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. And they don't really dive in deeper. They don't look at the type of traffic and how long they stay. So yeah, you make some great points here.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that, we were talking earlier about, you mentioned something interesting about how when you see, for example, you end up meeting a prospect, you maybe meet them over coffee. And one of the things you mentioned about is say, well, that's literally going to cost you a ton of money just meeting them for coffee. Talk to me a little bit about that theory.
Okay.
It seems to be a really comfortable environment. People go there, have the coffee, and think it's going to end up in a sale.
Right. Okay. So let's say that and again, this is a model I use more for agencies, consultants, coaches, speakers, etc. But it also does apply to your market. Just adjust the rates accordingly. I have a model that shows that meeting somebody for that cup of coffee can easily cost you $1,500 or more. Here's what I base it on. Let's say that your hourly rate, I mean your true hourly rate, what an hour of your time is actually worth is $500. So you, first of all, before you even begin to embark on that coffee meeting, you will lose at least 15, let me make sure I got this right. You will lose a good half hour or so each end of the trip. You'll need about a half hour to power down whatever you're working on, get ready to go. And then once you come back to your office or whatever your job site or what have you, studies show that it takes approximately 23 minutes to get ramped back in to the work you were doing. So already you've lost an hour, $500 worth, even before you've done anything. Now, let's look at your commute. You hope it's only 15 minutes each direction. You hope you don't run into yet more road work. You hope you don't run into an issue where you have to cruise around for 10 minutes looking for a parking place. So you hope that you're only going to lose that half hour in the journey, the round trip journey. So there's another $250. Now, as far as actually sitting down for the coffee, you're looking at a minimum of 90 minutes after you get through with the, hey, did you get here all right? Do you have any trouble finding the place? How was traffic? How's your day doing? How are the grandkids? So this is actually one of the reasons that I became so passionate about podcasting as a modality for entrepreneurs and business owners of pretty much any shade or stripe. It's really simple. Instead of spending that 3 hours times 500, which is $1,500, to discuss, figure out how we can get you to hire me or whatever, we can have a conversation like this where we're sharing ideas in a mastermind type format. We're exchanging ideas. We're doing things that help our respective community, market, and audience. And we're mutually sharing with each other's tribes. And as far as coffee, the average cost of a cup of coffee brewed at home is $1.03. Takes about 10 minutes to brew, and you can be doing other things while it's brewing.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. And if people hear you and say, okay, yeah, meeting potential prospect for coffee doesn't make sense because of all that, the data you just pulled up there. What is a better way? I mean, yes, maybe a podcast is not on the radar, but even going back to your website, how do you then start to evaluate who's a true customer, where you spend your time, and just try to find those true potential prospects?
Well, there are various modalities, and the business owner or entrepreneur has to select what works best for their audience and also what works best for them as the entrepreneur. So if we're in a situation where we're driving leads or driving visitors to the webpage, then you may want them to take some sort of action that constitutes them raising their hand saying, yes, I'm interested. With one of our clients, they have a webinar series where they run a webinar every month, and they vary the topics of the webinars so that some may be about this area of practice, others may be about this area of practice, etc. So every set of registrations for each one of those webinars gets tagged according to a particular subject. So that shows where certain segments of the audience are in their own journey, because they tend to be more interested in topic A or topic B, for example. Another is you could do an assessment of your audience, have them take a quiz that gives you data that helps you sort out which ones are prospects versus which aren't, and also what type of prospect they are so that you can calibrate the offer accordingly. Another tactic, and this may or may not apply, but let me show this to you, is let's say there's somebody you'd like to connect with. Now, Robert, you're on social media. I imagine you accept friend requests and connection requests. And how many times do you accept that request, and then 3 minutes later, somebody's blowing up your DMs?
And it never happens. Never happens.
And it's every form of creepiness, weirdness, and just outright boring the hell out of me. Like at the time that you and I are doing this interview, it's 3 days before my birthday. So guess what's happening? I have all these folks who have been having these one-way conversations where they're pummeling me with all these sales scripts and these fake bro type conversations. And this morning I woke up to him and says, hey, looks like you're going to be a birthday boy in 3 days. Like, no, I'm not going to engage with you so you can put a sales pitch on me. How many times do I have to not answer you before you get that?
Right.
This is why when I reach out to folks, just to digress for one moment, my opening gambit is, hey, nice to connect with you. By the way, I have a podcast and we're always looking for great guests. Would you be interested? I get much higher response and many more yeses or at least tell me mores than I do out of creating some manufactured fake conversation or bombarding them with a sales pitch or a script.
Right.
And hey, if they don't want to be on a podcast, cool. maybe they'll see something on my wall, or I'll see something on their wall, and we'll like it and we'll comment about it or something like that. Not everything is designed to go at the same pace. So another tactic, just to close that circle where we're coming back to, is let's say that there's somebody in your marketplace you would like to influence. And let's say you don't have a podcast. And maybe you do have an offer that they or somebody you know may be interested in. Here's a tactic, and I used this to grow a business once. Simply message them really quickly and say, hey, I'm not sure if you've heard, but I've started this new business, which is about, and then in about 3 words, summarize what it's about. So not a long sales pitch, a phrase. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. How can I get on your calendar for a quick chat? So here's what we're doing here. Rather than pitching them, rather than prospecting them, we're asking them for their opinion. We're positioning them as somebody we look up to, somebody we view as a mentor, somebody we view as a trailblazer. Do you think you're more likely to at least positively be open to hearing what somebody has to say if they're positioning you as somebody they look up to versus somebody they're trying to sell down to?
Oh, no, for sure. No,
Yeah.
I
It's a
agree
little,
100%.
it's a little thing there. And it's a great way to open a conversation, and you just flow the conversation naturally from there.
I mean, you bring up a really good point that you touched on, but I just wanted to really emphasize it. Is I think a lot of people are guilty of using social media, trying to get out there, but they're not necessarily either engaging on their target clients, or they're not necessarily doing some research. I mean, I think research is probably the biggest word here, where they're not doing that research into finding out who their ideal client is, who they want to engage with, what the background is, what their personal interests are, and then diving deep on those people. I mean, how much time do you spend on, for example, researching through, LinkedIn or some of the other social media channels?
A good bit, actually. Now,
Right.
I don't necessarily rely on a lot of spreadsheets, although when I develop certain campaigns and certain outreach lists, I will put them on a spreadsheet and I'll work my way through the process. But again, I'm not going to be also then tracking what step they are in some one-sided sales script or one-sided
Right.
bro marketing fake conversation approach we're in.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of saying, which ones have we engaged with? How's the engagement going? That sort of thing. And in many cases, my offer, just because of the way I do business, will be, hey, you want to be on my podcast?
Right.
Which combines the idea of leading with reciprocity and positioning the prospect of your intended conversation as somebody you look up to, takes both of those sentiments and puts them together to create much more of a wow effect that brings on a more positive response.
Right. Yeah, for sure. No, I like that. So going back to a point I was making a minute ago, you've got the business owner, whether it be landscaping, whether it be some other business, they either get doing some social media, they maybe get some traffic on their website, and it's obviously not having a big impact on bringing in new business, because ultimately that's what we want. I think people sometimes forget about that. What would be a good starting point for them to re-examine where they're at right now, and maybe coming up, we're closing out here 2021, and I'm encouraging a lot of my clients to think about, what's your strategic plan for next year? What are some of your big rocks you need to work on? And a lot of people don't necessarily have any type of marketing or new business development strategy. What would be one of the first things you would recommend for them to start looking at?
Candidly, I would tell them to start a podcast. And the question may be, what would a commercial landscaper, let's look at the name of this show. What would a commercial landscaper gain from hosting a podcast? Well, a combination of a number of things. Becoming a resource for helping folks understand what commercial landscaping is all about, so they create their own class of potentially highly educated buyers. They position themselves within their market as the leading subject matter expert in the area of commercial landscaping. There may be 15 commercial landscapers in that space. Here's the analogy I like to use. I don't know what city or town you're in, and this is a question for both you, Robert, and for all of our listeners. I want you to ask yourself silently this question: who is the number one personal injury attorney in your town? I guarantee somebody's face or somebody's name just popped into your mind.
Oh yeah,
because there's always going to be that one personal injury attorney. When I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we all remember Edgar Snyder, where there's no fee unless we get money for you.
Right.
and here in Las Vegas, everybody knows Glenn Lerner's jingle. So, and there are other personal injury attorneys, most of whom, in one way or another, sponsor the Las Vegas Golden Knights, because you see all their commercials during the Golden Knights games.
Right.
However, aside from those 3 or 4, there are probably a few hundred personal injury attorneys in Las Vegas. So it's a matter of the ones who step out to position themselves as being the subject matter experts, who have the most interesting marketing that their audience latches onto. And sometimes it is something really hokey, like there's no fee unless we get money for you. Find something they're going to remember and be able to repeat. So if you want to speak about your marketing message, it could take the form of finding some phrase that either has 3 syllables or has 3 words that all begin with the same letter.
I like it.
That's a little tactic from neuro-linguistic programming, or something about the power of 3s. Repeating something 3 times, having a 3-word phrase with 3 syllables, having a 3-word phrase where every word starts with the same letter. So I'm gonna say 3 phrases, and this is not partisan. And in fact, I'm gonna say something from both a Republican and a Democrat for our United States fans, so that you get the gist of what I'm saying. You've probably heard the phrase build the wall. You've probably also heard drain the swamp. And lately, you've been hearing build back better. What do those phrases have in common? And why did you instantly see the face of the person saying those phrases? And I took phrases from 2 different people, 2 different presidents. It's because 3 syllables, 3 letters, 3 words. So the power of 3s. And how can you work that into your marketing? And how do you work that into your media, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a live stream that you then translate into a podcast? Another thing that you can do is community awareness. And this is where you get the opportunity to increase your tax deductions and tax write-offs quite candidly. Companies that engage in a lot of charity and a lot of community outreach tend to attract business simply because in the marketing of the outreach that's done by other people, your name gets mentioned. So if your company has been mentioned as the corporate sponsor of about 12 different charitable initiatives, that is 12 pieces of free marketing that was done for you.
No, I like that.
And your contribution doesn't necessarily have to be monetary if you're concerned about having a monetary budget. It could be that you physically go volunteer. It could be that you donate something in kind. It could be that there's some sort of community rebuilding project and you donate some extra materials you have from your commercial landscaping business. It could be that you do something where I know we're speaking about commercial landscaping, but I imagine there's some listeners here who do commercial and residential.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So maybe you select lucky winners, or you select folks who apply for it. You pick whatever modality you want, and you do X number of landscaping jobs as a public service or as a charity. Maybe you align with Habitat for Humanity, find out where they're doing sweat equity on houses, and you step in and say, hey, we will do the landscaping for your Habitat for Humanity project, and get your name on that.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So those are just a few simple things that speak to a combination of your altruism, your activism, and your acuity for helping people recognize that you are the subject matter expert for whatever it is in your community, market, and audience.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, I wrote down there the power of three syllables. And when you gave those examples, I mean, it really struck me as being, you know, pretty powerful. And you, as you say, you put that name immediately to the phrase. So, yeah, I love that. So we're finished wrapping up here. What's your final message to our listeners, Adam?
My final message to you is, and I know this is something that you and I have not spent a whole lot of time discussing, but since we are covering what we're doing with our marketing plans, being clear on what's going to help to attract customers, some ideas that may not require a whole lot of money and or time that will be effective. And we're also looking at being clear about our mission, our vision, our values, our goals, and being efficient with our businesses. I encourage you to look at your business processes throughout the day, whether it's your sales process, your marketing process, how you do a landscaping job, how you do purchasing, how you do accounts payable, accounts receivable, whatever it is, and ask yourself this question over and over again. What would happen if we didn't do this at all? It's a challenge question. What would happen if we didn't do this at all? Now, the answer might be, wow, absolutely nothing would happen. Or, come to think of it, would be better off if we weren't doing that. Cool. Take that stuff, set it aside. The answer may be, well, if we don't do this, X, Y, and Z don't work out, and we need X, Y, and Z to work out. Cool. That's the one you keep. That's the one you work on optimizing. And now with all this other space, you begin bringing in other activities. And even as you bring them in, you ask that challenge question, what would happen if we didn't do this at all? And you'll continue to optimize. You'll continue to find where you're spending your best efforts. And as you progress down this journey, you will find yourself in a situation where more of the effort, energy, and investment you put into your business yields return on that investment. And the more fulfilled as an entrepreneur and a business owner you will feel yourself to be, because more of what you're doing yields a result.
Yeah, no, that's great. Great message. Great message, Adam. So if my audience want to reach out to you, learn a little bit more, maybe they need some help with their website, maybe they need to start up a podcast, what would be the best way for them to get hold of you?
Okay, so I would encourage, here's the thing, whether you're looking for somebody to help you launch your podcast, whether you are looking for somebody to work with you in terms of doing some business optimization around the principles inside Groundhog Day is an event, not a business strategy, which deals with a combination of prospect attraction, using minimalism for maximum results, how to reposition your language to change the meanings, to change the value, and several other items. The easiest way to do it, just to cover the gamut, is I'm going to make a special offer for your audience that I very rarely make on podcasts, and I actually mean this, I very rarely share this on a podcast anymore, is go to a simple website, www.schedulewithadam.com. That's www.schedulewithadam.com, and put yourself in for a brief chat with me. You'll see a form that will enable you to do it. Just tell me what you want to discuss and mention that you heard about this on the Commercial Landscaping podcast with Robert Klinkenbeard. And I will know that you are one of those folks who listen to this show, and I will be sure to give you something that will amaze you one way or another. So again, www.schedulewithadam.com. That call is free. The opportunities are endless.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Adam, really appreciate your time today. Really enjoyed. You've got some great messaging, some great nuggets I'm sure the audience will work with, and they'll start to look back at all the traffic they're getting. They wonder why they're getting no business. Now I think the light bulb's coming on. So thank you, Adam, for your time. We'll put all your show notes and all your contact info in that. So have a great day, Adam.
Thank you very much, Robert. I really appreciate this. And you have yourself a fantastic time. And I wish you and your audience all your success in serving from your intersection of your brilliance and your passion. Have a great day.
Thank you, Adam. Take care. Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and we've got some great takeaways for your business and your personal life. This is Robert Clinkenbeard along with David Anderson, and we'd love to get you and your friends to join us on our journey. Two quick things before you go, listeners. Check out our website, thecommerciallandscaper.com. You can subscribe, you can share with your friends, but more importantly, check out our sponsors. We have Site Recon, who are going to help to capture measurements on your property and create a really streamlined process. And we have Company Cam, who make it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field, no matter where you are. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.